Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to learn how to make this beautiful Zara crochet dress. It is inspired by our previous top, and for this video we're going to start from scratch. And this dress has increases to accommodate the hip circumference. You'll see the increases here as we work our tutorial. And then it also has a beautiful lace pattern, as you can see here. And then it has a back lace up, but this is totally optional. You can go with the moment you're done with your dress, you can just go ahead and join this part. If you don't want that back lace up, you can join this opening into a round, and then this can just tie at the top of the neck. This is just an option that you can consider when you're done with the construction of your full dress. So if you'd like the written pattern, it's already available on all my online shops. And I hope you enjoy this video. I hope you enjoy every step of making this beautiful Zara crochet dress with a beautiful cross stitch for the lace pattern of this design. So let's jump right into the materials. For the materials, you will need yarn. The yarn that I'm using is Robin. It's 100% acrylic. It's a 4-ply acrylic yarn, and I'll be using 2 strands, a double strand for the bra cups, but when it comes to the bottom part, I am going to use a single strand. This is because I wanted the bra cups to be a little bit thick and sturdy as compared to the lower part. And then you will also need crochet hooks. The hooks that I'm using for this project are a 2.5 and a 3.5. The 2.5 is going to work the bra cups, and then the 3.5 will work the bottom part of our top. And then you will also need a pair of scissors, a darning needle, some stitch markers. If you would like the written pattern, it's already available on all my online shops, and I'll be leaving a link behind in the description box so that you can grab yourself a copy if you wish. So you're going to get your double strand of the yarn that you've considered to use. If you're using a DK weight yarn, make sure you're using 1 strand of yarn. You don't need to double it. So I'm getting my 2.5mm crochet hook for the bra cups. We are going to first create the bra cups, and then later on we shall join them and then create the bottom band of the bralette. So we're starting off with let me start off with a magic ring. So you're going to hold your yarn like this, roll it over, insert your hook, pull up a loop, remove your fingers, and then you're going to make a chain of 1. That chain of 1 doesn't count as anything. It's just to close up the magic ring. So you're going to make a chain of 3, which counts as our very first double crochet, and then you're going to create 15 more double crochets into the magic ring. So yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So we basically have 1, 2, and 3 double crochets. So we want a total of 16 double crochets into this magic ring. So let me go ahead and do that. The 16 includes the chain of 3. All right, so we have our 16 double crochets, including the chain of 3 that counts as one of the double crochets. Now you're going to get the chain at the back of your work and close up the magic ring, as you can see here. Close it up, but make sure you don't snap the yarn or you don't break the yarn. So you're going to go into the top of the first chain 3 of the round and insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, and pull through this loop as well. That's a slip stitch into the top of the first chain 3 of the round. So we are done with round 1. We are going on to round 2. You're going to make a chain of 3, which counts as our very first double crochet. You're going to go into the same exact space, or into the same exact stitch in that hole where you place the slip stitch, and you're going to place another double crochet. So this pattern is explained in US terms. So that counts as 2 double crochets into the very first stitch, and then 1 double crochet into the next, 2 double crochets into the next, 1 double crochet into the next, 2 double crochets into the next, and 1 double crochet into the next. You're going to repeat this all the way around. 2 1 2 1 until you come to the end of your round, and I'll show you how to wind up. So we are coming to the end of the round, and I'm ending my round with 1 double crochet in the final stitch. So you're going to slip stitch into the top of the first chain 3 of the round. That is how round 2 looks like. If your work is folding like this, don't try to straighten it out. It's perfectly fine. That's okay. So we're going on to round 3. You're going to make a chain of 3, which counts as our very first double crochet, and then you're going to go into the same stitch with 1 double crochet. So that will count as 2 double crochets in the very first stitch, and then 1 double crochet into the next, 2 double crochets into the next stitch, 1 double crochet into the next, 2 double crochets into the next, 1 double crochet into the next. So round 3 is basically the same as round 2. You're going to go all the way around until we come back to the end of the round. And don't forget, the last stitch of the round gets only 1 double crochet. So you can see we're coming to the end of the round, and I'm placing 2 double crochets into the second last stitch, and my last stitch will get 1 double crochet. And just like that, we are done with round 3, and we're going to go into the top of the first chain 3 of the round and place a slip stitch. So this is what we have for round 3. We're going on to round 4. And this time we are going to start creating the mesh effect. And to do that, you're going to make a chain of 3, which counts as our very first double crochet. Into the same stitch, you're going to go in there with another double crochet. And then you're going to make a chain of 2, skip 1 stitch, which is this one, and then into the next, you're going to go in there with 2 double crochets. chain 2, skip 1 stitch, 2 double crochets into the next. So that's the repeat for this round. Chain 2, skip 1 stitch, 2 double crochets into the next stitch. Alright, so we're coming to the end of the round, and I'm chaining 2, skipping the next stitch, and into the second last stitch you're going to place 2 double crochets, and then make a chain of 2 and skip the last stitch, which is this one, and go into the top of the first chain 3 of the round with a slip stitch. And just like that, we are done with round 4. This is what you have. Now we're going on to round 5. You're going to slip stitch into the next stitch, and then slip stitch into the chain 2 space. So our main aim is to get to a chain space. So we are here, make a chain of 3, which counts as our very first double crochet, and you're going to go into the same space with 2 more double crochets to make a total of 3 double crochets into this space, since the chain of 3 counts as a stitch. So we have 3 double crochets here, chain 2, 3 double crochets into the next chain 2 space, chain 2, 3 double crochets into the next chain 2 space. So that's the repeat for this round. Go all the way around, and I'll meet you back at the beginning of round 5. So I've made it all the way around, as you can see. I'm going to make a chain of 2 and slip stitch into the top of the first chain 3 of the round to wind up round 5. Now we're going to get our stitch markers. You're going to get 3 stitch markers. All right, so I'll be using those stitch markers there. And right after the stitch with the slip stitch, you're going to put one of the stitch markers there into the middle stitch of these 3 double crochets, and then skip 5 groups of 3 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and into the 6th in the middle stitch you're going to place a stitch marker there. and then skip another 5. 1 2 3 4 5, and then in the middle stitch of the 6th group you're going to place a stitch marker. So you should be left with 1 2 3 4 5 groups before the next stitch marker in the middle stitch of the next group of 3. So this is how our bra cups are going to be formed. So let's go on to round 6, and this is going to start creating the corners of our bra cups. You're going to remove your stitch marker. So you're going to make a chain of 3, and into the stitch that had the stitch marker you're going to go in there with 3 double crochets. 1 2 and 3, and then 1 double crochet into the next stitch. All right, now into the chain 2 spaces you will place 2 double crochets, and then into these stitches that are not marked with stitch markers. Oh, by the way, you have to replace your stitch marker into the middle stitch of the 3 double crochets you placed here. So into the middle stitch, make sure you replace your stitch marker there. That will always be your increase point. So in the double crochets that are not marked with stitch markers, you just go in there with 1 double crochet into each. And then into the chain 2 space you place 2 double crochets, and you're going to just repeat that until you get to this group of 3 double crochets where the stitch marker is. All right, so we are placing our 2 double crochets in the chain 2 space before the group of 3 double crochets that has the stitch marker. So you're going to remove this stitch marker from here and then place 1 double crochet into the first stitch of the next group of 3, and then into the middle stitch you're going to place 3 double crochets. That's the stitch that had the stitch marker. And then you're going to replace your stitch marker into the middle stitch of the 3 double crochets that you just placed. And then you're going to do the same exact thing along this side. What we have done here, into each double crochet you place a double crochet, into each chain 2 space you place 2 double crochets until you get to this point where you will place 3 double crochets into the middle stitch, and then move all the way to the end of the round, and I'll meet you back towards the end of the round. All right, so we've come to the end of the round, and I'm placing my last 2 double crochets into the last chain 2 space of the previous round. And this is what we have. And now you're going to go on top of the first chain 3 of the round and place a slip stitch. So this is what you'll have. At this point, this is what I recommend for size extra small. At this point you can chain 1 and cut your yarn. This should be enough for extra small, but if you feel like you need more coverage, we're going to go ahead and widen our bra cup in order to create more coverage for the bust. So actually don't remove this stitch marker. Now for the next round and all the rounds after that, in case you need to make this bra cup wider, you're going to make a chain of 3 after your slip stitch. This counts as our very first double crochet, and then you're going to go into the next stitch with 1 double crochet, and then you're going to remove your stitch marker. For each stitch marker, each stitch with a stitch marker, you'll always place 3 double crochets to maintain the corner of the bra cup. So after your 3 double crochets, you replace your stitch marker into the middle double crochet of the 3 stitches you just placed, and then continue to place 1 double crochet in each and every stitch until you get to the stitch right before the one with the stitch marker. So the repeat for this round is 1 double crochet in each and every stitch until you get to the stitch with the stitch marker, where you will place 3 double crochets and then replace the stitch marker into the middle double crochet of the 3 double crochets that you just placed for your new round, and then continue to place 1 double crochet in each and every stitch all the way down. Do the same thing at this point. Increase by placing 3 double crochets into that stitch and then replace the stitch marker into the middle stitch of the 3 stitches that you just placed in the new round, and then go all the way down, all the way across until the end of the round, until you place a double crochet into the last stitch of the round, and then slip stitch into the top of the first chain 3 of the round. So I'm going to go ahead and work my final round. This will be considered for size round, medium, large. This is where I'll stop, but if you need more coverage, that's the round that you'll keep repeating until you feel like your bra cup has enough coverage for your bust. So let me go ahead and do my final round, which is the one that I'm on right now, and I'll meet you back when I'm through with that. Alright guys, we've come to the end of round 7, and this is what your bra cup should look like. Now you're going to go on top of the first chain 3 of the round, and you're going to place a slip stitch to round up round 7. Now I want to take some measurements for you. One side of the triangle, because we're creating a triangular shape for the bra cup. So since these are equal, one side from one stitch marker to the other when stretched is about 8 inches. Don't overstretch it, but this is about 8 inches. And then for the smaller size, I measured when it was about 7 inches, when I mentioned that this will be enough for size extra small. That should be around 7 inches. And then for each round after that, it will increase by 1 inch. So let me assume you add 1 more round of this exact type of round, you'll get to about 9 inches. So do what you have to do to get more coverage for yourself, or your desired coverage. And once you get it, you're going to make a chain of 1 and cut your yarn. And this is what your bra cup should look like. You're going to go ahead and repeat the same exact process for your second bra cup, so that we have 2 identical bra cups, and then I'll meet you back at that point. And you're going to locate 2 corners and get a short strand of yarn. As you can see here, I'm going to go into that stitch with the stitch marker and the stitch on this side, and I'm going to join the 2 bra cups together, just like this. And I'm going to make a knot. At this point, you can remove these 2 stitch markers, and you're going to go ahead and make a tight knot at the center of the 2 bra cups. So this is what you'll have. All right, now we're going to switch to a single strand and to a 3.5mm crochet hook. We're now going to make extensions towards the side. So I'm going to place my yarn, I'm going to attach my yarn in that stitch that had the stitch marker. with a slip stitch and make a chain of 20. So for all the other sizes, just check on the screen and see how many chains that you're supposed to make for the different sizes. So I have my chain of 20. I'm going to make a chain of 1 and cut my yarn. And I'm going to do the same exact thing on the opposite side. Attach your yarn in the stitch that has the stitch marker. Alright, so you're going to make the same exact number of chains on this side as well. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you can remove these stitch markers as well. This is going to be the base of the dress. So I have made 20 chains, but do what you have to do for the different sizes. And then you're going to make 2 more chains. Now we're going to work across both bra cups. So you're going to go into the 4th chain from the hook with a double crochet and double crochet into each of the next chains once. Until you get back to the body of the bra cup. Alright, so once you place a double crochet in the last chain towards the bra cup, you're going to go into that stitch where you attached your yarn, the exact middle stitch, and place a double crochet, and then continue to double crochet once in each and every stitch across the bra cup. Alright, so you're going to place 1 double crochet in each and every stitch until you have 4 stitches to the stitch where we joined the 2 bra cups together. So you can see I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the 5th stitch is the one that joins to the 2nd bra cup. So we are going to go ahead and make treble crochet in each and every stitch. Yarn over twice, insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So we are placing 1 treble crochet in each and every stitch until we get to the stitch that joined onto the opposite bra cup. So just like this, you're going to go into that stitch that joined onto the opposite bra cup and place a treble crochet there as well. So far we have a total of 5 treble crochets, and then we're also going to place the same exact thing on the opposite side. So treble crochet into the stitch that joins onto the opposite bra cup. That's 1, 2, into the next stitch. We want a total of 5. So this is the 3rd. the 4th, and then the 5th. So once you have your 5 treble crochets on each end, both on this side and on this side, you're going to go ahead and place 1 double crochet in each of the next stitches all the way across the back up and onto the extension chain. So we are placing 1 double crochet all the way across, and then 1 double crochet in each of these chains. So I've made it across the second back up, and now I'm placing 1 double crochet in each of the chains on the side of the back up. So when you make it to the end of the row, this is exactly what you're going to have here. Now we're going to start creating our cross stitch. So you're going to make a chain of 3 and turn your work. You're going to skip the next stitch and place 1 double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. So the chain of 3 is attached to the very first stitch. So you skip this one and place a double crochet into the next one, and then double crochet into the next one, and then go behind to the stitch that you skipped, and you're going to place a double crochet. So just like that. Alright, so after this row, I want to start my cross stitches, but I should make sure that I'm working on the right side of my work. Now, if I'm to just make a chain of 3 and turn, I'll be on the wrong side of the work. So I'm going to make a chain of 1 and cut my yarn, and then reattach it onto the beginning of the row so that I'm working on the right side of my work. Make sure your cross stitch row is on the right side of the work. So you're going to attach your yarn into the very first chain 3 on top of it and make a chain of 3. Skip 1 stitch and then 1 double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. 1 and then 2. And then you're going to yarn over and go into the skipped stitch with 1 double crochet. And then skip 1 stitch and then 1 double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. And then go into the skipped stitch with 1 double crochet. So you move backwards. That's the cross stitch that we are trying to create. Skip 1 stitch and then 1 double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches, and then double crochet into the skipped stitch at the back. So you're going to repeat this all the way across. Until the end of the row, and I'll show you what to do from there. All right, so we're coming to the end of the row, and I've skipped one stitch and then one double crochet in each of the next two, and then one double crochet into the skipped stitch. So just like that, you should end your row with a double crochet into the last stitch. Just make sure you end with a double crochet into the last. Now we're going on to row 3. You're going to make a chain of 3 and turn your work, and you're going to place one double crochet in each and every stitch from the previous row. So the chain of 3 is attached to this one. You're going to go into the next stitch with a double and continue to double crochet into each and every stitch all the way across. So we're coming to the end of row 3, and I'm ending my row with one double crochet on top of the last chain 3 of the previous row. Make sure you go into the top of the last chain 3 and place a double crochet there. So we're just going to repeat rows 2 and 3 again and again until we get to our waistline level. So remember, row 2 starts with a chain of 3, turn your work. The chain of 3 is attached to the first stitch, so skip the next stitch and double crochet into the next. Double crochet into the next, and then go back to the skipped stitch and place a double crochet. And skip one stitch, double crochet in each of the next 2 once, and then one double crochet into the skipped stitch. So we are basically repeating rows 2 and 3 again and again until we get to our waistline level. Alright guys, I repeated rows 2 and 3 again and again until I got my desired top length. And if I'm to get a measuring tape, this measures about 4 inches, 4 to 5 inches, the bottom band of my top. And this is what it looks like. If I'm to zoom out, this is how our top looks like. Once you get your desired length, make sure that you end on a double crochet row. Now the fact that I'm on the wrong side, it doesn't actually matter. You can either end on the wrong side or the right side. If you feel like this is awkward to you, you can go ahead and make a chain of 1 and make a row of single crochets on the right side of your work. But for me, I'm going to end my top here. I'm going to make a chain of 1 and cut my yarn, pull through. I also went ahead to attach straps on top of the bra cups. I just made a simple chain using a double strand, a chain of 150 on top of the bra cups, and this is what we have. Alright guys, to transform our Zara crochet top into the Zara crochet dress, we're going to just pick up from where we left off the top. I'm going to just tie these straps up here so that they don't get in the way as I work on the bottom part of the dress. So you see where you ended your last stitch of the bralette. you're going to make sure that you end on a double crochet row on your bralette. If you happen to place a single crochet row, just remove it and just get back to the double crochet row. And we are grabbing our 3.5mm crochet hook because it's the one that worked the bottom part or the bottom band of the bralette. And you're going to get a measuring tape. Mine is here, and you're going to take a measurement at the base of your bralette. You're going to make sure that when you stretch that measurement, first of all, you're going to make sure that the bottom band runs up to your waistline. That's one thing that you should take note of. Make sure that this bottom band can run up to your waistline, the upper waistline of your body. And then you are going to take a measurement across the last row of your piece without stretching. So you can see I'm at 26 inches, and that's the measurement that I want for the waistline of the person who is going to wear this dress. So if you happen to have less inches for this part, let me say you're 30 inches instead of 26, you're going to make a chain in between that can get to your 30 inches before you join in the round. But since mine is already 26 inches and that is the waistline circumference of the person going to wear this dress, then I'm going to just go ahead and attach my yarn into the top of the first chain 3 of the round and make a slip stitch just like that. So we've joined in the round. So this is what you should have. Now we're going to start creating increases to accommodate our hip circumference. And to do that, you're going to make sure that you are working in the opposite direction of the previous round for each and every row or round, because now we've joined into a round. So you're going to make a chain of 3 and turn your work so that you're working in the opposite direction of the previous round. As you can see, these stitches are facing this side, so you should be facing the opposite direction. So this chain of 3 is attached to this one here. So you're going to skip over 2 stitches, sorry, 1 stitch, skip over 1 stitch, and you're going to place 1 double crochet in the next 2 stitches, just like that. And then you're going to move to the back and place 1 double crochet in the skipped stitch, just like we've been doing for the bottom band of the bralette. So skip 1 stitch, 1 double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches, and then move to the back and double crochet into the skipped stitch. So you're going to repeat this all the way around. This is round 1. This is the very first round after joining our bralette into a round. So repeat that all the way around, and I'll meet you back towards the beginning of the round. So remember, the cross stitch is worked on the right side of your dress, because now we are transforming the bralette into the dress. So make sure your cross stitch is worked on the right side of your dress. All right, so we've come to the end of our round, and I've just placed my last cross stitch, as you can see here. I have just about, I think, 1 stitch left or 2. So once you have only 1 stitch left or 2 stitches, you're going to skip over them and you're going to slip stitch into the first stitch after the chain of 3 here. You're going to skip over the chain of 3 and slip stitch into the double crochet right after the chain of 3. So now we're going to place our work just like you can see here. All right, now you're going to get 2 stitch markers and you're going to place your work flat like this. You're going to mark the middle stitch of the side cross stitches of your piece. For me, this is the stitch that I'm going to mark, and then in the middle stitch of this cross stitch. Remember, the cross stitch is made of 3 stitches, so you're going to mark 2 points where we're going to create increases for our dress to start widening in order to accommodate our hip circumference, because at this point, if you just go straight down, this dress won't be able to fit around the hips. Remember, this circumference is now for the waistline, but not the hip circumference. So we're going to make a chain of 3, which counts as our very first double crochet, and turn our work so that we are working in the opposite direction of the previous round. So this chain of 3 is attached to the stitch here before the chain here. So you're going to go into the next stitch with 1 double crochet and continue to place 1 double crochet in each and every stitch. Until you get to the stitch before your first stitch marker. Remember, we have 2 stitch markers. So before you get to the stitch marker, I'll show you what to do. Just go into each and every stitch with 1 double crochet until you get to the stitch before this stitch marker. All right, so we have 1 stitch to the stitch with the stitch marker. So you're going to place 2 double crochets into that stitch before the one with the stitch marker. Just place 2 double crochets there, and then you're going to remove your stitch marker, and into the stitch that had the stitch marker, you're going to place 2 double crochets, and then you're going to replace the stitch marker into the last double crochet that you just placed, and then you're going to place 2 double crochets in the next stitch. And just like that, we are done with the increases. At this point, we're going to go all the way across until we get to our next stitch marker. So we are placing 1 double crochet in each of the following stitches until you get to your next stitch marker. All right, so we've reached the stitch before our next stitch marker. You're going to place 2 double crochets into that stitch, and then remove your stitch marker from the next stitch. and place 2 double crochets, and then replace the stitch marker into the last stitch that you just placed, and then 2 double crochets into the next stitch. And then from now on, you're going to just place 1 double crochet in each of the following stitches. Until the end of the round. All right, so we've come to the end of the round, but remember the chain of 3 was attached to this stitch, so make sure you don't place a double crochet into that last stitch, otherwise you will have created an increase at this point. So what we are going to do is slip stitch into the top of the chain 3, just like that. And basically what we are trying to do is to create increases towards the side of our dress in order to have it accommodate our hip circumference. So we're going on to round 3. For round 3, you're going to make a chain of 3, which counts as our very first double crochet. So this chain of 3 is attached to the chain of 3 here. So you're going to turn your work, and you're going to place a double crochet into the next stitch, and then a double crochet in the stitch before the chain of 3 to create our very first cross stitch. So just like that, we are through. And then skip 1 stitch, 1 double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches, and then go behind to the one that you skipped and create a cross stitch. So just like that, we are going to repeat this all the way around, and I'll meet you back towards the end of round 3 and I show you how to wind up your round 3, or the cross stitch round. Actually, keep working this until you get to your stitch marker, because now we have increase points where we're supposed to create increases, but the increases are only placed in the double crochet rounds, not in the cross stitch rounds. So you can see we are almost approaching our very first stitch marker. So I'm placing a cross stitch here, and I've reached my very first stitch marker. So what you're going to do is to remove your stitch marker, and then place your cross stitch. So skip 1 stitch and then double crochet into the next 2, and then cross stitch into the one that you missed. So what we are going to do here, we are going to replace into the middle stitch of this cross stitch that we've just placed, and at this point this is where the increases will be placed for our double crochet round, just like we've done on the double crochet round here. So keep going with your cross stitch all the way around until you get to your next stitch marker, and you'll do the same exact thing that we've done here, marking the point where the next increases will be placed, and then I'll meet you back towards the end of the round. So what you're supposed to do is just to make sure that the point which you mark to get the increases is within the same lane, so that our increases are located on the side of our dress. It shouldn't be so far away from where the last increases were placed. So as you can see, our increases for this double crochet round are here, those three. So around the middle, that's where the next stitch marker for the next increases should be located. So just keep doing that, and I'll meet you back towards the end of round 3 and show you how to wind up. All right, so we're coming to the end of the round, and I'm skipping 1 stitch and then 1 double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches, and then go back to the skipped stitch and place a double crochet just like that, and then slip stitch on top of the first chain 3 of the round. So this is what you should have. And then we are going to keep repeating rounds 2 and 3 again and again until the base of our dress measures half of our hip circumference. So my main aim here is to get 20 inches because the hip circumference that I'm considering for this dress is 40 inches. So make sure you repeat rounds 2 and 3 until you have half of your hip circumference at the base of the dress. So round 4 is going to resemble round 2. So you just make a chain of 3 and turn your work and go into the first stitch with a double crochet. Continue to double crochet all the way across. So this is our increase round. So 1 double crochet in each and every stitch until you get to your stitch marker, and then do what you have to do to create an increase at the point of the stitch marker, just like I explained for round 2. And then the next round will resemble round 3. So our repeat rounds are round 2 and 3, 2 and 3, again and again until the base of our dress measures half of our hip circumference. That way we shall be sure that this dress will comfortably fit the person that we are meant to make it for. So all right guys, as you can see, my work can now slightly stretch to my half of my hip circumference, my intended hip circumference. So without stretching, I have about 18 inches, but when I stretch, it can go to 20 inches. Make sure you don't overstretch your work so that when the person wearing the dress, when the person puts it on, it doesn't overstretch and then the stitches kind of look awkward. So just give it a slight stretch so that it can get to half of your hip circumference. And once you get to that point, you're going to now remove the stitch markers. And when it comes to the round of double crochet stitches, you're not going to create any increases this time, because now we want our dress to move right down, straight down, without creating the increase here. You can see how the increases have impacted the sides of the dress to create more room and more coverage for our dress. And once you get your desired length here, which is supposed to be half of your hip circumference, we are now going to change the direction of the dress to go straight down as opposed to spreading out, because if you continue to spread it out, it's going to become much bigger than what we want for our dress. So once you get that measurement, you're going to remove the stitch markers from these points, and then you just do plain rounds without any increases, especially for the increase round, which is supposed to be the double crochet round. You just go all the way around with only one stitch in each and every stitch. And for the cross stitch, everything remains the same. The difference is now we are not going to have cross stitches with stitch markers. I hope that's clear. I'm going to keep working my dress so that I can get the length that I want for it. And then I'll be back to show you what my final result will be. Alright guys, this is what my dress looks like after lengthening it, and I ended up with a total of 50 rounds, all the way from our very first round when we joined our panel into a round to start creating the bottom part of the dress. I have a total of 50 rounds all together, and yeah, this piece takes a while to make, but the results are worth it. So 50 rounds, and I made sure that I end on a round of double crochet stitches. And then the moment you're done with that, you're going to turn your work onto the back side, and we're going to lace up our dress the same exact way that we did our bralette. So you're going to get a hook, and then you're going to start creating crisscrosses at the back of the dress into the lace or the cross stitch rows. So just like that, and then you can skip the next row of cross stitches and then consider the next one. Just do what you have to do to get a beautiful lace up at the back. You can go in each and every row if you wish. You can skip a few rows if you wish. But for me, I am skipping three rows and then lacing up into the next cross stitch row. So you can see we have an X at the back of the dress, and then this beautiful lace up. And then from here, you can just make a knot. And that's basically it. Let's see the final results. If you like this video, guys, make sure you give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to check out the written pattern, and yeah, leave a comment down below so that I can know what you thought about the tutorial. And thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in my next one. Bye.